Hello and welcome to the Slapshot Syndicate podcast. Be sure to subscribe for more content, and whilst you're at it, go and follow our social media pages. They're on screen now. Now, on to the episode.
Hello and welcome to another week on the Slapshot Syndicate. The second weekend has been completed, results are flying in and out, goals are being scored, and the table shifts just a little bit more from the first weekend. Lads, as I just said, second weekend done. What did you make of this weekend?
Al, I'll let you go first, mate.
Sorry, mate. A wild one again. A few teams that look like they're starting to come into their own. I think quite a few of us was quick to, pounce on those teams who didn't get off to a flying start. But it seems to sort of be taking shape now. Some surprises in there as well, and some teams that are, again, that was touted to go down a little bit that are still fighting in there, which is great to see. And yeah, some teams that we expected to be at the top and not doing that. So yeah, there's loads of talking points in there. It's making to be quite an interesting start to the season.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously, Friday was probably the most interesting game for me. Steel Dogs against Phantoms. Obviously, we'll come into the results of that later on, but it was very interesting. Some quite high scoring games as well when you look across the board. So clearly, some people are finding their groove like quite early on. Our defense is just shocking at the minute. So no, but all in all, good to see. Just looking at your likes of Swindon, Milton Keynes, Leeds, all your top teams all having pretty decent weekends as well, which is obviously quite a big statement for what's to come for the rest of the league. So yeah, all in all, good.
Yeah, like you said, there are plenty of goals all over the games, but I think there's some things to take away from this weekend. We've had some interesting penalty minutes on goaltenders, and we've had a bit of controversy with a bit of goal line technology as well, which we've mentioned in the previous episode, which we'll go over that as well. So with that said, lads, let's start off our own Seahawks and get into Seahawks reaction. So let's look at what Seahawks did this weekend then, fellas. Only the one game this weekend with the game away at the Basingstoke Bison, obviously postponed for reasons that we know with their ice rink. So we were sort of passenger on Saturday looking at results from Friday and Saturday. And then we faced Milton Keynes Lightning at home. I think a game we all agreed would be a really tough game. I think between us, we went either side of the fence on where it was going to go. But unfortunately, Seahawks losing this one on overtime, 3-2. Good hard-fought game, I thought. There was not a massive amount of goals. I think it was a bit end-to-end at times, maybe a bit broken play. But, I think overall, I think we take that as Seahawks fans, first point on the board and something to progress on. What do you think, brothers?
Yeah, difficult night, really, wasn't it? I mean, to be honest with you, the game was end to end. I was quite happy with the way Seahawks came out and started performing. We was obviously putting a lot of pressure on MK. And to be fair, just want to address the point of like there's always a question mark, isn't there, when a team has one game for the weekend, because you don't know whether that's going to be a positive or a negative in the sense that they're going to be fresh for the one game, but also some people who play twice in the weekend, they can try and build a bit of momentum on the Saturday game or a Friday game, and then go into the second game, carrying that through. So, or even if you've come off the back of a loss, you're energetic, you're ready to claw back that result. So, I think the rest did us good, if I'm honest. Looking at the way the team was playing, and obviously we was missing a couple of players this week. Like John Stallard being injured, Chilcott being unavailable, who is a big miss because he just brings that solidity to the back line. But I don't think the score reflect the game. I know we said this a lot, but obviously it was an overtime goal, so it could have gone either way. And towards certainly sort of the back end of the second period and into the third period, I'd say we was on top for the most of that. Just the resilience of this Milton Keynes Lightning team came out, I think. But all in all, I wasn't too disappointed with the performance for the guys, because I really thought they showed some promise. Spec had a fantastic game this weekend, and we obviously discussed about his performance last weekend and the fact that we didn't think it was too bad, but clearly there was a bit of a rocket up his backside, and he did come out. I mean, that slap shot he scored was probably one of the most powerful shots I've ever seen, and there was no saving it. So he came out on form. We had Hewitt back. He just proved how much of a big miss he was in that team, especially on the power play. I think, Aaron, you mentioned it to me, didn't you, whilst we was watching it, just what a presence he has on that power play, being able to like knock the puck around and pick out that pass. He just seems to control the blue line and feed it in between him and Sobchak. You feel quite comfortable that we're going to be able to keep the puck in their sort of their end of the ice. But I was a bit disappointed to come away with a loss, because I really don't think we deserved it. I think getting the point, both teams probably deserved the point, but I think we deserved the overtime win. So sometimes it's just not the way it goes, is it?
Yeah, completely agree. You've made some great points there. Like you say, obviously few players missing for Seahawks, and then the addition of Jordan Fisher coming back, and getting dressed for this game, and helping us defensively, adding another body in there. And I don't think he did too badly at all. I think his first couple of shifts, I think he levered one of their players and put him right up to the glass. And I think the fans appreciated seeing that back as well. That sort of hard, gritty, no-nonsense defending, which you want to see. A good team like Milton Keynes, if you give them time and space, they'll punish you. But like you say, he came straight out there and put them to it, which was great to see. Rossy, what did you make of the game?
To be honest, following Matty's interview last week, where he said that a couple of the lads needed to do some soul searching and things like that, I thought to be honest, it was a fantastic response. I thought there really was a team last night. I was really impressed. There was loads of individual performances that I could have picked out. Huey was a big one for me. He just showed that we missed him last week, probably. A really experienced player, and that goal that he scored was just like he was rolling back the years, wasn't it? That little tip on, it was something special, wasn't it? But I was really impressed with the Seahawks. I don't want to get too into it and be biased and stuff like that, but I do think that we had some pretty rubbish calls against us in terms of the refs and stuff like that. Some blatant checks to our players and stuff, and obviously we react and we get penalties and stuff, and you only had to look at our bench and see how peed off Matty was just to warrant that. But regardless of that, you can't take away from MK. They shut our attack down. I do think for the second and third period we were really on top, and they were sort of waiting to almost counter us. But that's probably the reason why they got to where they did last year. They got physical and they came out with 2 points in overtime, didn't they? So I think overall, if you asked me honestly, I wouldn't say. I don't think the 2 points went to the team that deserved it last night in terms of attacking hockey, but in terms of a defensive hockey display, MK were really good. But no, back to us. And I was really impressed. One person that really impressed me as well was Jordan McLaughlin, that is. Sorry for people who don't know. I thought that he was really solid between the sticks. Some really, really good saves and kept us in it, especially in the first period where it was a bit more to and fro. I think as the game got on, he had less to do, but when he had to make the saves that he did that. But I was really impressed with our decor as well. To shut Matty and Jordy both said it in their interviews last night, but to keep MK down to 2 goals is a big thing. They've got goals here, there, and everywhere, and they've shown that this season already and in pre-season. So for me, although it's a bitter pill to swallow, only taking 1 point, it is 1 point, and it's 1 point on the board against a really good team. And if we'd have had a game against the Bison last night and perhaps got 2 points and been offered before the weekend 3 points, you'd have probably took it. So, in that sense, I think they'll be disappointed, but I can guarantee that there'll be an extra fire up the backsides for this coming weekend. So I'm excited to see what comes.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely bang on the money there. I think it's easy to look at this and just think, oh, it's a 1 point weekend, do better. But you've got to take into that consideration it is only a 1 game weekend. You'd like to think against Basingstoke we'd put up a great fight against them. No disrespect to them, they've started their season pretty good. They've given some hard fought games, but as the more senior team, shall we say, you'd expect Seahawks to have got the result there if it had been played. I was just looking at the stats, and it's interesting to see that we did actually outshoot the MK Lightning, which I think is probably the first time in the actual season we've actually outshot a team. I know when we was away at Sheffield last weekend, and Swindon certainly outshot us. It's good that we're getting that back, that we're getting shots on goal. As you alluded to there, McLaughlin did have a great game in goal. Big shout out to him. I think for me, I mentioned it to my old man, the biggest thing I noticed about him is he's not giving up those second chances as much now. The puck hitting him and he's holding it and he's not sort of dropping and then flapping and causing a bit of, panic in the defence. He's sort of holding them and keeping hold of it. And I think that gives confidence to everybody around him. But very much a head-to-head against the goalkeepers last night. Headley, again, I know Matty Davis said it, he had a whale the other night. He didn't look like he was being beaten all night. There was times where I know we had a couple of breakaways now. Players tried to get in behind him to jam it over his pads, and he just somehow sprawled and stopped us. But yeah, great goalkeeping performances all around. It was worth mentioning that he and Spadafor was the pantomime villains on the night, weren't they? Really, was giving it all sorts. I know Headley at the end of the game, you could see how much it meant to him to give back, on one skate, giving it all this when they won it, And I know I was fuming. It got into my head with that one, but
they had a few fans on strings, didn't they? Let's be fair. I think Spadafor had us on strings a few times as well, didn't he? With some of the stuff he was doing, but yeah, you were right, Az.
Yeah, but I think this is also worth noting as point one of bad officiating this weekend. First footnote on that, some of the offences that were going on behind the play. I mean, the game started off fair enough. The first period there wasn't really much where you think, well, that's a bad call, that. But it seemed to be the second half of the second period going into the third where the game was tight. You think, let a bit go or whatnot. I don't know what it was, but some of the stuff where the puck had gone to one end and you was looking and there was people getting slashed. It was like WWE on the ice. It was embarrassing, really.
It was bad.
You got to be careful as well, aren't you? Because obviously it were both two physical teams and both known for the physicality. So that game is quite intense. The hits there seems to be a little bit extra in the hits a lot of the time. So when you're not calling things that need to be called, you risk losing the game. You risk people, bench clearances, just people fighting, doing unnecessary things that they don't need to be doing. So last season, MK arguably won playoffs through their physicality, and I don't think we're as physical this season, but some of them young lads got right stuck in with it, which was good to see, because obviously teams know that if they're going to come to Hull, that they're going to get knocked about a little bit, and that's what happened. And MK give as good as they got, and I could see obviously the rest wanted to let as much go as possible, but to keep the flow of the game going. But there was just some blatant things going on that just needed calling. There was a trip on Bones at one point, didn't get called, and then I think there was 3 afterwards as well that just didn't get called.
There was one where Sobs went in on goal as well, and I think they just either grabbed him round the waist or just absolutely swept his feet, and he just got up at the ref and was looking at us as if to be like, "Are you taking the mick?" There was one as well that was behind the goal, and one of the MK players has gone like this to the back of one of our players, and they're both facing one of the linesmen, and the linesman just sort of went and turned away, and it was like, oh my God! So I think for the majority against MK and all, you've got to appreciate that must be a really difficult game to ref, and you're not going to get everything. It was just more the frustration about the ones that was really blatant or really in front of your eyes. But I guess as Hull fans, that's what we're going to say, and unfortunately, we're the villains of the league. So everyone will be saying, "Oh, look at these Hull fans complaining about physicality," but it's not about physicality. If you're gonna, go into other players or do what, that's fine. It's the blatant outside of the game stuff, which is just a bit hard to take.
I think the thing is as well, it did. There was times that suggested that the officiating was just gone at one point because we won't mention names, but the ref in question was clearly looking at something. I can't remember who it was on, but we was heading down the ice and he was clearly looking at it, and he'd switched around. So he'd gone from sort of where we was in A block, our side of the ice, to the opposite side, and someone else came round ours. But he arguably had the better view, and he was coming down the ice, and there was it was either a hooking call or a slashing call, and he didn't give it, yet the one who'd moved over to our side, he stuck his hand up for it. And I thought, that's questionable. What's your motives here? Not to suggest that there's any malpractice going on, but I just think with the teams getting as irate as there was with it on both sides to a degree, then he was obviously it was our fans, expressing their displeasure towards some of the calls. It just seemed at that point he was like, well, not going to give anything. So a bit disappointing, really. I think if that continued in a much more high pressure game, you could have lost it completely.
No, I think you're absolutely bang on. I think we can sort of wrap up there. We've mentioned the good and the bad of obviously the game. I think the three of us are happy that we've managed to come away with a point there. I know we've discussed how tough the game was going to be. Potentially expecting not to come away with anything more in hope. We expected to get a point maybe. But yeah, I think a good weekend, and we hope this is where the season probably kick starts now. This is where we sort of benchmark ourselves because the effort was there, the performance was there. We just had a wall of a goaltender in front of us that stopped us because on any other night we'd probably scored 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I think Matty was happy. He was happy with the effort, the attitude of the lads, and I think it's going to be quite positive despite not coming away with both points, and move on to the next weekend again. Another tough weekend saying that, and we hope we can come away with more points, and we need to make sure that any team that comes to the Hull Arena once again has a really hard night and they think, I just want to get on the bus and get back home because I've been banged up. But I think we'll wrap it up there, fellas, and we'll go into the rest of the fixtures and the results. So, fellas, it's now time to review the results from the weekend. We'll start off with Friday night, which I think you alluded to in the previous segment, Bradders, was a big game. Sheffield Steel Dogs hosting the Peterborough Phantoms. We was fortunate enough to be able to watch this game on the online stream. What did you make of the game watching it?
It was a tough game, wasn't it, end to end? And to be honest, I hold my hands up and say I probably had written Peterborough off a little bit from last season, but they were looking pretty solid in fairness to them. And I was quite surprised by how the game went. I thought it would have been controlled a little bit more by Sheffield, but wasn't really the case at all, especially at their home ice as well. I would have expected them to hold it, but yeah, evidently not. Should we go into the results?
What's that? Sorry, I'll cut this down. Am I next?
Yeah,
right. I was quite impressed by the game too. Obviously, Sheffield have been pretty good in terms of their start to the season, and again they've put up another 5 points, 5 goals. But for Peterborough to come through with that result, I think they've done really, really well. We obviously questioned if it'd be a hard adjustment for Ash Tate and the boys to sort of get that going, but for him to go and beat Slava at his new stomping grounds must be pretty sweet. So no, I think that's a really good result for Peterborough.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, it did finish 6-5 to Peterborough in a shootout, and there was some bit of maybe controversy, bit of unknowing of the rules going on. So
yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Yeah, so in Sheffield's mind, it was a 5-shot shootout. it turned out it was only a 3-shot shootout, so it went 2-0 on the shootout, and Sheffield was like, "It's all right, lads. We've still got a few here to take a win." And the ref just went, "No, lads, that's the end of the game." And Sheffield,
the Phantoms skated off, didn't they, and was just like buzzing, and you saw the Sheffield players like, "What?" But Yanni Lekonen. It says on the national website that it was Cam Huff, but I'm about 99% sure when we watched the stream, Yanni was the one who put the last goal in, wasn't he? But 43 ripping it up and doing that, he's some volume, isn't
he? Yeah, absolutely.
Love that.
The biggest thing for this game, what I noticed is it was that short little spell where Sheffield got back-to-back penalties.
Yeah.
So there was a penalty kill, got another penalty, Peterborough scored, and then Sheffield stayed on the penalty kill again and conceded again. And I think that really hurt Sheffield a lot in this game, because I think if their discipline had been a bit better, they might have taken this one overall. But I just think that little bit in the game probably killed them off a bit. But really good.
The short-handed goal as well at one there.
Yeah,
Corey McEwen scored it, didn't he? Yeah, when Sheffield were on the power play, that was unexpected as well.
Yeah, fair play to Peterborough. We've said they're one of those gritty stars, but it was hard to judge maybe where they would finish this season. But it's results like that where they will show themselves as they're thereabouts come towards the end of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how they go for the rest of the season, I think.
Definitely.
So we'll move on to the Saturday fixtures, boys. First one, Swindon Wildcats host the Romford Raiders. Swindon taking this one 5-4. Hard-fought game, not straightforward for Swindon. I'll come to you first, Rossy. What do you make of this one?
Interesting one, this. Last week, I didn't hold Swindon to account, but I said I'd like to see their new import forwards chip in a little more. And it definitely seemed that was the case in this game. So Van der Miraka has scored 2 and Tyler Watkins has scored 2. So, I mean, what more do you want? Tyler Watkins also got man of the match on the night as well, I think. Obviously, either side of that, they've got Owen Griffith. So 3 players that they've brought in the summer have contributed to a 5-4 win, haven't they? So, I mean, what more can you say about that? It's pretty impressive, is it not?
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think we all, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure we all predicted this to go one way, and that being Swindon's. But yeah, I'm definitely surprised at how good a fight Romford put up again, especially at the Link as well, because obviously we know that that's a difficult place to go and try and get points. I think one thing to note is obviously Swindon got 2 power play goals. In fact, there was 3 power play goals on the night, one being for Romford and 2 being for Swindon. So clearly that had an element in there as well in the game. But yeah, I'm quite impressed by the depth Swindon have got at the moment, and I think that's what's sort of setting them apart from the rest of the pack at the moment, because they just seem to be able to score at any given moment on the ice. They're not waiting for their top line necessarily to come out and get points. So yeah, I expected it to go this way, but a lot closer than I presumed.
I think one thing to note as well, sorry for interrupting you there, as well, they seem to be just like chipping away with these like 5-4 wins, 4-3 wins and stuff like that at home, but they never seem to be giving points away. They're always tying up those games, aren't they? And I don't want to ruin the Sunday fixture for the people who haven't seen them, but there's no wonder they've had the start to the season that they have by doing that. I think it's really impressive.
Yeah, I think I was going to say something similar. I think it's sort of that winning mentality and gritty performances that sometimes you need to eke out, and that's what wins you a title in the end. So I don't know if it's a good thing to be doing it so early in the season and dragging out results. Maybe it is, as you're trying to find your form and rhythm with new players coming in. But yeah, absolutely agree. A close game than a few might have anticipated, but still Swindon will be happy to just come away with the 2 points and keeping the home ice in a good place.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to the next game, which was the first of a double header. The Bristol Pitbulls hosting Leeds Knights. So this one was an 8-2 victory for the Leeds Knights and the first points of the season for Leeds. Great bounce back ability here. Done really well. A lot of goals as well. So I'm sure they'll be chuffed with this one. I'll come to you first, Rossy. Opinion on this one?
Well, when Bristol go 1-0 up at home, after not even 2 minutes, I can imagine Leeds might have thought, "Oh God, here we go again." But shortly afterwards, they equalised, and this never seemed to look back, did they? I think it was 4-1, 3-1 or 4-1 by the end of the first period. And every time you checked the phone, it was Leeds got another goal. Oh, Leeds got another goal. Leeds got another goal. But this seems to be like the Leeds of last season, where they could just go to anybody's ground and they'd just take points off people. MK, not a problem. Swindon, not a problem. Hull, not a problem. Well, maybe not Hull. But yeah, no, the result looks really impressive. And again, it's not one of those where someone's just had an absolute worldie night. The goals and the assists are spread across the lines. Finn Braden, the young lad, 2+2. He's great. He's had a great night. Ollie Endicott has got, I think it's 4 assists on the night. And he's notorious for being on that best third line in the league. So what does that tell you, And obviously Brownie's got a couple of goals and I think a couple of the imports as well. So it's just been shared around. I think it looks like a really solid team performance. Shout out for Sam Gospel as well. He played 53 minutes, although they did concede. No, sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong night. But regardless, Gozzi's obviously had a good game as well, keeping him down to 2.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if this is worrying times for Bristol or if it is just Leeds, coming into a bit of form. Obviously, there was a lot of hype at the start of the season with what Bristol was going to do and with some of the signings they made. So maybe they are just trying to, put all that together to build a product. But likewise, with Leeds was doing that as well. Certainly to the last couple of weeks, people have managed to be able to pick up results against them, which is unheard of, really. So for them to come away with an 8-2 win is massive for them. But if I'm a Bristol player or a Bristol fan, I'm probably thinking on this Saturday we can't do the same thing again. We need to try and find something and build on a performance they've got, especially that being at home as well. So you certainly don't want to do that twice.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that, won't we? We'll move on to the next game of Saturday then. So the Milton Keynes Lightning hosting the Solway Sharks. Milton Keynes taking this one 4-0. Still not a great start for Solway on this Saturday. Tough again. Still trying to find the legs. Still trying to find the rhythm. Obviously, new players there as well. But you don't really want to see a team nil, do you? Unfortunately, but Milton Keynes showing the quality with this one. Straightforward win for them, wasn't it? Really.
Difficult one as well with this because on face value, it's never nice to see a team not score. But 4-0, again, for an MK team at home, and 2 of those goals were power play goals as well. So I don't think the game's as face value as it looks. But yeah, disappointing for Solway. I'm sure they'll be disappointed. I know that their first game's coming in October, so I'm sure they'll be gagging for that. But 4-0 against MK overall, I don't think personally is that bad. Sorry for interrupting you there, Brad.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I do agree with you. I think it's sad to see, obviously, Solway get nil because we don't think we've seen what they're about yet this season. We talked about this last week. They've had a bit of being dealt a tough hand, and to go away to MK is always a difficult thing to do. Honestly, probably expected it to be a bit higher, so they've probably looks like they've held their own to a certain degree. I just think obviously results speak for themselves, don't they? And all the while we're sat here talking about their potential and how well they can do, ultimately you've got to pick up points in the process, and these games are just as important as later down the line. If you fall off too early, you end up with a mountain to climb. So yeah, I expected MK to come away with the win, but I just think as a Solway fan, I'd be very disappointed, that they haven't managed to pick up a point yet. I think it's coming. I do think it's coming. And to be honest, I'm here for it. I'm waiting for that one weekend when we're going to come out and say, yep, Zolway picked up a point, and they've obviously got a good squad and they've got some depth in there, so they can do it. They just need a little bit of continuity in what they're doing, I think, at the moment, and travel must be killing them. So hats off to those guys for sticking around and keeping at it, because I think there will be a finished product of that.
It looks like it's going in the right direction, though, doesn't it, lads? In terms of like, I feel like the gap's narrowing each week. Like, I know obviously they'll want points under the belt and stuff, but it does seem like they are getting closer and closer to that point. So
yeah,
it just needs to be soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 56-game season. We're only 3-4 games in for some teams. Still a long way to go. And not being funny, they're not expected to be a real title contender, are they? It's more getting that playoff spot and having a good cup run if they can. So, there's still time for them to turn the season around and just let it click. They seem to be building a nice product, and it's not just for this season, is it? It's looking ahead in the seasons to come. So you've got to do it the right way. And like I say, I think it is there or thereabouts, and they will pick up points soon enough. We'll move on then, fellas. So the last fixture on the Saturday, Peterborough Phantoms hosting the Telford Tigers. And I know we had eyes on this one. Telford again, another team who have had a cracking start to the season. And I know we was a bit mixed on where we thought this result was going to go. But Phantoms coming out with another shootout win, 5-4. So the Phantoms taking the scalps of the top two teams to start the season, which was a real eyebrow raiser. And yeah, it's set up Peterborough quite nicely going for the rest of the season, hasn't it?
Yeah, this was an interesting one, to be honest, because obviously Peterborough have come off quite a tough game, one that's gone the shootout distance already, so you might be a bit leggy. You've done the extra miles, and Telford are obviously a very strong team, arguably currently stronger than what Sheffield are. So you've just got over one hurdle. Then you're like, okay, we've got to go to Telford. We've got to face Telford tomorrow at our place and try and pick up a result again. So what they've done there is nothing short of a miracle, I don't think. And again, very tight scoring. So 5-4. There was obviously goals being leaked in it, and these are the games I love, to be honest, where there are goals but it's still tight. And yeah, I bet it made for a great watch. Unfortunately, I didn't watch this one, but it's certainly one I wish I had. And I just think, obviously, a shootout. It's you can argue that that point's up for grabs, because it's what goaltender have you got? Who have you got stepping up for it? What are the nerves like? It's early season. How do you put control 1-on-1? All of these different variables, but obviously the experience Peterborough had from the night before has come through, and they thought we'll just go and do the same thing again. I wonder if Telford got fooled by the same rule as the Friday night, thinking, well, we can pick up some more goals here, lads, and before you know it, it's too little, too late.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting as well that this fixture completed Peterborough's weekend, so they was passengers and just got to sort of sit back on the sofa Sunday night and watch what else unfolded. They'd done their work. For me, I know we said about Telford was potentially the standout team of the first weekend with the scalps there, took with Milton Keynes and Leeds. But for me, second weekend, I think belongs to Peterborough with two great wins. Yeah, they've had to go the distance and fight it out, but they've done it, and fair play to them. That's what you want to be doing, because like you say, Sheffield and Telford have started so good. To take them out benefits everybody, doesn't it, really? It allows the pack to catch back up.
Fight it out is the right term as well there, Azza, because Peterborough was 4-2 down in this game as well till like the 55th minute. They got two goals in the last 5 minutes. One of them was 58-50 or something around that. So that just shows that they're not giving up, they're never laying down, and yeah, absolutely kudos to them. They've got something good going there, and to win a second shootout in 2 nights. Some people will get to that full time and be like, 3 points after that's pretty good, boys. But no, let's go the extra mile and do it. And yeah, that's absolutely class. I think you are right there, and as are in saying that the weekend belongs to them, because they've ground out some real tough games there, haven't they?
Yeah. So we'll move on to Sunday's fixtures. First game on the Sunday, Sheffield Steeldogs hosting Swindon Wildcats. Again, another fixture we had eyes on. Both teams in great vein of form. Steeldogs at home, you'd probably back them to hold their own there, but in the end, it didn't work out that way. Swindon taking it 4-1. Real weird on this, and I'm sure you've got a bit to say about this one, Rossy, because I know you was a bit eyebrow raised with this.
I was shocked at this one. I'm not going to lie. I'm not to discredit Swindon. I think I backed Swindon in the predictor, but I didn't see it going like this. Not 4-1. I thought it would be a lot tighter. I know it was 1-1 for quite a large part of the game. I think Swindon made it 2-1 with about a minute to go in the second period. So obviously it's been a tight game, but yeah, 4-1 in the end is it's an interesting one, isn't it? A 0-point weekend for Sheffield off the back of their start, where everyone's looking at them and thinking, wow, these are a great, sorry, not a 0-point weekend, 1-point weekend with a overtime loss. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough old weekend, that Sheffield taking on Peterborough, Swindon. But yeah, I don't know whether it says more against Sheffield or more to Swindon, that they've been able to come away from home and beat Sheffield, who were arguably one of the big dogs in the league, let's say, this year, and beat them convincingly 4-1. And yeah, not seemed very fazed by it.
Yeah, well, the good thing about Swindon is that the product they have is quite consistent, and it's rare you see Swindon, have a bit of a mare. Whereas this might be, Steel Dog showing some cracks early doors, and showing that there are points to be picked up there, because judging by the performance the other week when we played them, I couldn't see that being the case, to be honest. I thought they was pretty solid. So I'm not too sure what the circumstances was of the night, but hosting Swindon's always going to be a bit of a tough battle. And like you say, with it being so close for a large portion of the game, and then all the goals coming in sort of like the third period, maybe that's just at that point, it's you've gone a little bit, the game's got away from you. You haven't got much left in the tank, but before that point, it's a bit too late. Yeah, I didn't expect that sort of level of result. I did think it would be a lot closer, but yeah, hats off to Swindon. They've had a good performance again this weekend.
Some nice words from you, that, Brad, from the man who's predicts them to finish 5th this season.
Yeah, before the season started.
He will not let that way down, will he?
Sorry, mate. I
love that.
Get over it.
I'm not even a Swindon fan, and I'm giving you a grief. So the next game was the part 2 of the double header. So the Leeds Knights hosting Bristol Pitbulls this time.
Hang on, isn't that the Saturday result?
No, it was a double header, mate. It was.
Yes,
I know. I'm being sarcastic.
I get it. Went right over our heads, that, didn't it?
Boring. Absolutely boring. Some of us are trying to do a professional job here,
Oh, grow up.
So yeah, 8-2 again. I don't know if there's much to say about this, fellas. It seems very much rinse and repeat of the Saturday night. Leeds will be happy. They've now got 4 points on the board, kickstart their season. Again, I think it was a fair share of people scoring. The big dogs coming in clutch as per usual. Happy weekend in the Leeds camp, I think.
Yeah, but you'd be happy with that performance, won't you? Obviously, like we mentioned, I know we made a joke about it, but in all seriousness, you don't want to be doing that twice on the bounce. And to be honest, that's exactly what Bristol have done. So some questions to be asked, I think, at the moment, especially that being Leeds being a team where you think you can pick up points from this season, or so far this season anyway. So yeah, Leeds will be buzzing with that. They've come off the back of a 4-point weekend and building some momentum with some good goal difference as well in there. So
it was much needed, wasn't it? And I think, like you say, they'll have definitely been wanting this weekend. Like after last weekend, they'll have been thinking, right, we need to make a statement here. And again, it's just another one where up and down the lines have put goals in. Defensemen have got involved with assists, and yeah, just they'll be really happy with that, won't they? So I think there was a couple as well where I think it was Dara Sporforth and Pokodzi. They put some on today saying congrats on like your first goals. So even that's a morale booster, isn't it? So everyone's just chipping in. Their imports are firing. What's not to love?
Absolutely. So probably the most controversial game of the weekend, fellas, was Romford Raiders hosting Solway Sharks. Romford taking this one 7-6. I know there was quite clear ahead by 3 goals, I believe, at one point. But I think the biggest talking point with this one is the goal line technology that could have saved a lot of hassle with this one. We've all seen the video. The puck doesn't cross the line, but a goal is given by the official on the night, and it sort of turned the game a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. We talked about Solway building their performance there, and to be honest with you, is there a more bitter pill to swallow than losing 7-6 after coming off the back of being nilled? Then all of a sudden finding actually you have got goals in you and you start putting them away for it to still not be enough on the night. It's a tough old cookie to take that one. But yeah, the officiating, I mean that's shocking. There needs to be something done about that, because obviously there being one goal in it and that being given, they've just cost them a point realistically. So it's a tough one. If you're Solway though, you probably come away from that feeling a little bit more optimistic about what you've got in the tank and what you can do. So I would try and take the positives from it. I don't think that's a bad performance from them.
No, I agree. It's just got to be a bit of pill to swallow, especially with those travelling Solway fans coming back from Romford. You'd be thinking about that all night, won't you? But I think, to be fair, we spoke to Bolton about the game, and he said that he doesn't feel like they properly turned it on until like the third period, maybe. Which is to be fair, that's quite good and quite transparent. He could have just been like, no, referee and call ruled us off or whatever. But he said it was our own doing. But he said they're definitely taking positives from the game. But yeah, he's as transparent as that is, and as much as I respect him for saying that, if I were in his shoes, I'd feel a lot more bitter, because it was a shocker.
I think you're being quite nice by saying it's a shocker, to be honest with you. I mean, Stevie Wonder's probably going to sing that didn't cross that obvious. There was so many fans where it was just obvious it never went in. But we all love a bit of controversy, don't we? It's when it's against you, you don't like it, but that's what sport is, with the highs and lows, the controversy. So it's just unfortunate it's happened to Solway in their current predicament, and we move on. We just hope for better, I suppose.
You should just be able to review that though, because that's blatant. That should just be a review and scratched off straight away. You don't even need this goal line technology for that sort of call, do you? That's just, have you actually seen the video footage of it? Yeah, 10 seconds. Nope, done.
We do have to give credit to Romford though, boys. Other than that, they've put 6 goals past Solway, so there's nothing to wince about there, is there?
I agree, but it almost takes the shine off it, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
I know what you mean. But I think they went out and scored after 18 seconds, so they've set up and been like, right, we're going to do it tonight. And there was some really good individual performances in there. I don't want to put too much on that goal. I do think that Romford do deserve the credit there, especially after their pre-season where they shipped 10, I think it was, at MK, and they were like, oh, what's going to happen here? And everyone was thinking that they're going to be rock bottom. That's 2 massive points for Romford, that, in my opinion, and one that they'll take great pride in and they'll hope to build on, I think.
No, that's a real nice, fair assessment, a nice point to make, just to not just put it all on that talking point there. The fact that Romford, they had a real tough game on the Saturday night. Was it Swindon they played, come off that narrow loss there, but then to actually get some points on the board for themselves there was a nice end to their weekend after a tough Saturday. So yeah, I think you're right there to not always just focus on that. So the next one we'll push over real quickly. Hull Seahawks hosted Milton Keynes. As we said in our previous segment, Milton Keynes taking this one 3-2 on overtime. Not the worst result for Seahawks, a better one for Milton Keynes, who, I predicted to win the league. So them taking the 2 points is great for them. We'll move on to the final fixture then. Telford Tigers, Basingstoke Bison. And again, this was another one that I don't think you'd have expected. So Telford taking this one 7-5. The 2 points go with them. But shipping 5 to Basingstoke, who, are a bit up and down with their games. They're only playing one a week, But they seem to have a bit of something there. They can score some goals.
Yeah, fair play to them. I think this is a good result for Telford. Obviously to try and keep a little bit of momentum going. Obviously they've come off the back of some really good results, and then only taken a point one night, but to get that one in the bag, I think it's going to be big for them. But yeah, credit to Basingstoke, because this team are obviously, they look to be one of the hardest teams to beat currently this season. So to go and ship 5 goals against them is a kudos really, because not every team is going to do that this season, and I can say that with a degree of certainty from what products Telford have got. So yeah, I suppose given if they give a little bit more, or circumstances a little bit different for Basingstoke, who knows what could have happened. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they've got. Obviously, once the rinks open and they can start playing some home games, because obviously that will be having an impact on them. So all in all, I don't think they should be disappointed with that performance. There's something to build on there.
In terms of a Telford perspective, there's been some really good individual performances. Again, we need to mention one guy, because he might be one of those that we need to keep an eye on this season. Your old mate, David Thompson, has a...
Big fan of his work. Great lad. Never said out bad about anybody.
Another 4 goals, lads. So he's had 6 points again this weekend. I think that puts him as a top point scorer in the league now. Caelan McPhee as well. Both of those lads were in our team of the week last week. I think Caelan McPhee's on about 9 points for a defenseman as well. They've got some seriously good imports. Eric Henderson scored as well. Scored twice, sorry. So every goal that came from them on Sunday night was from an import. So yeah, some really good pickups there. And also to note, 3 goals in the last 3 minutes from Telford. So Bison could have been going on with some points.
I mean, that would have been the result of the weekend, wouldn't it? If the Bison had taken the scalp of or the claws of the... So that wraps up the results of the weekend. Let's have a look at the tables then. We'll start with the Cup one, as we're still between both League and Cup fixtures. So top of the deck, Telford Tigers, 4 played, 7 points. Peterborough second, 2 played, 4 points. Milton Keynes third, 3 played, 4 points. Fourth is Sheffield, 1 played, 2 points. Leeds fifth, 3 played, 2 points. Sixth, Hull, 2 played, 1 point. And then we've got Basingstoke with 1-0, Solway 1-0, and Bristol 1-0. And 10th and 11th is Romford and Swindon. They haven't played any games in the Cup yet, so haven't got any points. Anybody stand out to you there, boys? For me, it would be still Leeds, having played 3 but only 2 points. They're still chasing, having to really get the points now to make sure they can finish in those last few spots to go into the semi-finals.
Yeah, agreed. But I also think, looking at the games played, it seems to be in Peterborough's court as well at the moment. So obviously they've only played 2, but are currently sat second. They can take it really. So that's going to be interesting to see. I don't think Telford will be too happy with that.
I'm still excited about this Telford side in terms of a cup run. I think that'd be really good for the league as well. Telford getting something like that, and that could really kick on the season. That to get a good seeding in terms of the playoffs. When we spoke to Fielder in the summer, he said that it was a bit of a shock for Telford not to get to the playoffs, didn't he? He said that that's sort of an expectation of their club. So could it be that they're ones who are going to make it to Coventry this season? I know that seems like quite a long shot, but all the signs so far seem that they're going to turn up to big teams and get points. So
no, you're up the money, the pair of you there. So Telford obviously 7 out of 8 points so far, and Peterborough have taken maximum points out of their 2 games. So they're still on for 100% record. So they're both, like you say, holding their own in that cup table there, and they'll almost have one eye just trying to focus it on the league as well. Because they're in a great position in the cup. So we'll move on to the league standing. Top of the deck, a new leader, Swindon Wildcats, 4 played, 8 points. Like I say, they haven't played any cup games yet, but they are 100% record in the league. Second place, Telford, 4 played, 7 points, so only the 1 point behind, which, as we've mentioned, is still a great start for them. Third place, Peterborough Phantoms, 3 played, 6 points. Fourth, Milton Keynes, 4 played, 6 points. Fifth, Sheffield, 4 played, 5 points. Sixth, Leeds, 4 and 4. Seventh, Romford, 3 and 3. Eighth, Bristol Pitbulls, 4 and 2. Ninth, Hull Seahawks, 3 played, 1 point. Basingstoke, 10th, 1 and 0. And Solway Sharks, 4 and 0. Anything you want to mention on there, boys?
It's a long season, isn't it?
I'm glad you said that.
All I'm going to say, boys, is I predicted Swindon to be top of the tree in 4.8 points.
4.8 points.
4 games, 8 points.
Long season.
No, you're right. It is a long season. I'm really enjoying seeing Telford up there though, because they're both all 4 of their games have been cup and league, haven't they? So it's nice to see someone who maybe people would have expected them to be a little further down up there and fighting with the other teams. So yeah, I like that. That's pretty good.
I quite like this stage of the season, to be honest, where teams are chopping and changing in terms of the table. I think it keeps it real interesting, because just as you feel like someone might start running away with it, all of a sudden you've got someone biting at your heels, and also like it seems to stay up. It seems to stay at this point for 10 to 15 games in, and then all of a sudden some teams start finding a bit of momentum, and then they go on a bit of a run, and all of a sudden you see them shoot up the table. So for any of the teams, I won't read too much into the table at the moment. It's interesting to look at, but it genuinely is a long season. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're both right there. I think, face value, if you looked at the table, you'd think, panic station's quick. But it is a long season. And, if we was to go into next weekend and, our beloved Seahawks end up picking up a 4-point weekend, the table dramatically changes once again.
Yeah.
It's easy looking at face value. Seahawks in 9th. You could arguably say they should be second bottom. Basingstoke only played the 1 game. It's one of them. But it can soon change. But it is good to see sort of different teams up there, sort of running the table at the minute, instead of it just being Milton Keynes and Leeds.
Yeah.
Leeds again, 4 played, 4 points, but they've just come off a 4-point weekend, so it looks a little bit better, but it's taken them a little while to get going. So long may it continue, and we're going to weekend 3 and see what chops and changes once again. But that sort of wraps us up for the fixtures this weekend. So we'll finish there, boys, and we'll go into our team of the week. So now we're going to get into our team of the week this week. Few contenders. Some people could have been in it back-to-back weeks. I feel like we want to change it up a little bit from week to week instead of having the same people in. So I'll jump straight in, boys. Netminder for this week, a guy who's been in it countless times last season, wins games on his own, and it is Sam Gospel of the Leeds Knights. So as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, Al, shut out on Sunday. He played 53 minutes, didn't concede. Leeds only conceded in the last 7 minutes when there was a netminder change. 95.24 save percent average, which is an absolute joke for any netminder, but it just seems to be standard things for him. 42 shots faced, only 2 conceded, and it helped to a 4-point weekend for Leeds Knights finally getting on the board. I think we can talk about this guy forever and still have so many things to say. We've had a great chat with him in the summer as well. Great guy.
Yeah.
He is just, he's just the best in the league, isn't he? Really, he's great at what he does.
Definitely. Without that attention on Leeds at the start of this season, people might have started to not forget who Gozzy is or what he can do. But yeah, no, that's a you needed someone to stand on the head this weekend, and he's definitely done that.
Defenseman, which one of you wants to go first?
You want to go first?
You can go, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so the next defenseman is also a Leeds night. It's Matt Stardiker. He was pretty involved this weekend, actually. Obviously, they only conceded 2 in each game, which is testament to them. And that doesn't necessarily mean he was on the ice when they was conceded. But he got 2 assists away from home, and I did 1 at home as well. So a 3-point weekend for him individually, 4-point weekend for the team. And it was pretty tricky this weekend to choose in terms of defensemen. We were scratching our heads a little bit, lads, weren't we? But I think, as you mentioned prior to the recording, it's important to give people the credit that they deserve, and we think that this guy, he's had a pretty good start to his season at Leeds. So yeah, we went for Matt.
Yeah.
So second defenseman then is Peterborough Phantom, and it's Bradley Bowering. He's had a great weekend as well. So he got a goal versus Sheffield to take him into overtime, and then ultimately, obviously, in the shootout, and then again he got a goal against Telford to them into overtime, where ultimately they won the shootout, and he contributed massively to a 4-point weekend for them. So fantastic performance for a defenseman.
Absolutely. So our centreman is Adam Leishram of the Romford Raiders. So he had a great weekend, massively influential in that 7-6 win against Solway with a 1+4, and a great 2 points for the Raiders there, and getting them kicking and up and running this season. So I think he's a name we'll probably see quite a few times throughout the season, because I think he's going to have a real good season.
Definitely.
Okay, so our next forward is a winger. It's Jan Lakanen from the Peterborough Phantoms. He got 2 assists in a game-winning penalty in the shootout against the Steel Dogs on the Friday, and then he got an assist and game-winning penalty on Sunday as well. So bit of a theme going on there at Peterborough, but yeah, no, fantastic performance again. Massive contribution to a 4-point weekend. Both those Peterborough Phantoms players deserve to be in Team of the Week this week.
Definitely. And to wrap it up, I've got another Leeds night. I think they've had a really great weekend, haven't they? And there's lots of teams that we could have chose from. But this guy has put in a true captain's performance. So our last member of the Team of the Week is Kieran Brown from the Leeds Knights. Scored 2 goals on Saturday night away at Bristol in a game that was, again, like we said, very much shared amongst the lines. But wow, he's had a great night when they've been back at the Castle. 5 assists in an 8-2 win at home. So a 7-point weekend for Brownie. And yeah, there's no wonder why there's so much talk around him. He's a brilliant player, and one that Leeds will be really, really happy to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we just want to say that we wanted to make a mention about 2 other Larkers as well for the Telford Tigers. Again, my good mate, David Thompson, coming in clutch, 4 goals and 2 assists over the weekend. Like you say, he's absolutely flying to start this season off, and I think he will be one of those who's trying to chase that 100 points and make a real name for himself. And the other one is Caleb McPhee. I know you're a big fan of his, aren't you, Al? And
yeah,
and he's put up some points already as a defenseman. So I think those 2 will be key for Telford in the long stretch of the season.
Definitely.
I think all we can say is congratulations to our members of the Team of the Week this week, and we'll see how it continues going into next week. So let's get into the upcoming fixtures for this weekend. That's upcoming, 3rd, 4th and 5th of October. Before we get into that, I think we need to hold ourselves accountable again, lads, and review what we predicted in fixtures-wise and how it panned out. I mean, I don't think we have a clue, do we, Bradders, on how we've done. Alex is the one who's got the scores on the door, so I think it's time to reveal who did what in week 2. Rossy, over to you.
Oh, it's exciting. So just before we start, we do want to introduce something as well. Obviously, we've been saying about forfeits and whatever for the person who comes last, but obviously we're all here to win. So as like a nice new little segment, what we're going to do is, especially on our Instagram account, so if you're not following, go follow it now. We're going to introduce a weekly cup winner, aren't we, lads?
Yes, we are.
I don't know whether you guys have seen it yet, but I'm going to do a reveal. So not only could you be the winner of this wonderful cup, you could also be the proud owner of... Oh, I've dropped it. What a nightmare. Hold on a sec. Slapshot Syndicate. The Slapshot Syndicate Cup. So I've got to say, before we start, that was Azza for week 1. So well done, Azza. Going into this weekend, we currently stood at 7 points for Az, 4 points for Brad, and 5 points for Rossy. So this weekend, I can reveal one of us scored 8.
Wowza. One
of us scored 7.
Oh.
And one of us scored 6.
Oh.
So it's all mixed up a bit, lads. So, what should we do? Should we go, what do you want to do? Do you want me to go bottom to top?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, currently, bottom, alphabetically, is Rossy.
Oh.
I had 6 this week, so not my best showing. On goal difference and alphabetical, Brad's also on the same amount of points as me, but he scored 7 this week. So Brad's just above me. He also has 11 points. But another solid weekend, and his second week in a row winning the Slapshot Syndicate Cup with 8 points is Azza. So well done, Az.
How have I done that?
No, well, you
just
got...
a complete fluke, mate.
Azza, you predicted the right team to win in every game apart from the Sheffield and Peterborough game and the Hull and MK game. Every other game you predicted right, but there was no correct scores, which will just remind everybody that those are 3 points.
I'm happy with that. Real
Fair
sure.
play.
Yeah,
so overall scores then.
So the current standings are Azza is in first place with 15 points. And then me and you, brothers, are both joint with 11 points. So not too far behind. If we get a couple of correct scores this weekend, Brad, we could be right up there.
Yeah, fair play.
Plenty
We
to
like
play
it nice
for.
and close, don't we?
Yeah.
I like it. It makes for a nice little change, doesn't it? And just have to reflect back on, us talking rubbish and how close we are with some of these predictions. I think it's good. It's a good laugh.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, with that said then, lads, it's time to go again. And we predict the upcoming weekend, starting with Friday, the 3rd of October. Sheffield Steel Dogs hosting Solway Sharks. So this one has potential to be either an absolute murdering or a good one. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I think this could be quite close, if I'm honest. Especially, obviously, Solway seems to be finding a little bit of performance, and looks like we don't really know what to expect from Sheffield at the minute. So this weekend could be, either I'm carrying on from the performances last weekend and not really getting over the line, or they could come out of the blocks all guns blazing again and pick up that form. So it's a bit of a tough one to call. I'm going to say Steel Dogs take this 4-2.
I was toying between that and what is going to be my actual prediction of Steel Dogs 4-1.
Ooh. 4-1. Okay, that's interesting.
Only because Sheffield are at home, and I just think at home, I think there will be the edges in a lot of games when you consider the ups and downs. So yeah, I think there'll be a few goals in it, but Sheffield 4-1.
I think that off the back of the last game, there must have been something in that dressing room to say our team's good enough not to just be not scoring at all. So I think Solway will bring a few goals. However, in the same breath, I do think Sheffield will also want to be reacting from that 1 point weekend last weekend. So I think it could be an entertaining one. I'm going to go Sheffield to win 5-3.
Interesting. So we're all in favour for Sheffield with this one, which, to be honest with you, I don't think it's a massive surprise. So that's the only game on the Friday. So Saturday, the 4th of October, first game, Romford Raiders host the Leeds Knights. So obviously we mentioned Raiders had a pretty decent weekend. They pushed Swindon close and then got that win against Solway. So how do you feel they'll do hosting Leeds Knights this weekend?
Do you want to reverse it and me go first this time?
Yeah, go on.
I'm going to go for an away win. So Leeds, I think after this weekend, I think they'll be wanting to continue that form. You know, I think there'll be a good vibe in that camp now. They've shown this weekend that they can go away and put points and goals up against other teams. And I think Romford also show, even in the win against Solway, that they can still concede goals. So I'm going to go a 6-3 win to Leeds.
That's exactly what I was going to go for.
Oh.
Are you the same, Azza?
No, I was going to say 6-4 Leeds.
Oh, I was going to go 6-3 Leeds.
Still available.
Stick with it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
What
obviously
would you
fought
say?
it for a reason. So
6-3, Bradler.
Yeah, I think there's going to be goals in this, definitely. And my thought process around it is, Romford being at home, they're going to get some goals in front of their home crowd. But yeah, Leeds coming off a bit of momentum and proving that they've got bags of goals in them when they need to, they'll bag up themselves. So yeah, 6-3 for me as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go 6-4. Very similar sort of thoughts to you guys. I've only gone for the 2-goal gap because of an empty net goal at the end. I think Romford will be banging it, and I think they'll be chasing it. But I think Leeds will get that empty net probably just to make it a 2-goal game.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So this will be interesting to see who comes up with this. So Swindon Wildcats host the Hull Seahawks at the Link.
This is going to be a tough game, isn't it?
I'm going to go 4-2 Swindon. Again, it's just that home form. Swindon are banging form anyway at the Link. I know we've had a bit of a mixed up and down there, but I just think Swindon are too good to be beaten at home at the minute. I think we'll give it a good go. Our momentum will be there, but I think they'll leak it out in the end.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think Swindon are going to take it, but I'm going to be quite specific in mine. I think it'll be a 5-4 overtime win for Swindon.
Jeez, some dingo that.
Yeah, I know it's ballsy, but these games just have a tendency to go back and forth throughout. So, and obviously, we need a rocket up our backside, and I think we'll get that as well. This is going to be a massive weekend for us, so we need to try and pick up something. It'd be nice to not leave Swindon empty-handed. So, but I do just think Swindon might edge it with the form they've got. So that's my rationale for a 5-4. Is there any double points for OT?
I was about to say this. If he's being specific to OT, if it's a 5-4 win, are we giving him it or not?
I'll give him a bonus point, definitely. Yeah. He's not having 3.
Great. Yeah, fair. So 3 points if it is overtime, extra 1 point if it's just 5-4. Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case, I'm going to go to OT in every single one of mine now. No, joking. Call me a dreamer. I'm going to go for a Seahawks win. I think this is a massive opportunity for Seahawks. Arguably, they might have fresher legs, and what better message to send to the rest of the league than saying we're going to go to top of the league and we're going to get some points. Don't think it'll be easy, and I could see it going the other way definitely. But I just want to believe in the Seahawks at the minute. I do think there's something in there that they're going to turn around. And the game in pre-season that we had against Swindon, I think they'll want to sort of, have a bit of revenge against them, sort of thing. But I'm going to go similarly to Brad. I'm going to go 5-4, but I'm going to go in favour of Seahawks.
Some game by the sounds of it. We've all gone for a pretty close game, but plenty of goals. So
yeah,
some watch that might be worth.
I think I'll be getting the stream for that
get
one.
the
Yeah.
stream. I'll bring the popcorn.
So the next fixture is the Battle of the Dogs. The Bristol Pitbulls host Sheffield Steel Dogs. I'm going to come straight out of it, and I think it's going to be a 5-1 win for the Steel Dogs. This one, I don't know what's going to happen with the Pitbulls. Obviously, they've just come off back-to-back 8-2 losses to Leeds. So I'm going to use that in a bit more rationale, and I just think Steel Dogs will have more power than the Pitbulls, and I think they'll put them to the sword. So yeah, 5-1 Steel Dogs.
I think it might be a little bit closer than that. I don't think Sheffield will come away with a win. Don't get me wrong, but I'm gonna say like a 3-1, 3-1 Sheffield. I just think it's at Bristol, innit? So you could see.
I think it's a difficult one. This I saw something earlier today saying Bristol have just got Reece Cochran back after a ban, so he's arguably going to improve their defence a little bit, but still difficult. I don't know whether they've got tons of depth, Bristol. I don't know whether that's going to be their issue this year. So I'm going to go in the middle of you two. I'll go 4-1 to Sheffield.
I think either way, it's looking like a clear victory for Sheffield on all of our behalfs there. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. And then arguably the fixture of the weekend, some might say. So the last game on the Saturday is Milton Keynes Lightning hosting Peterborough Phantoms. So obviously Peterborough coming off those back-to-back shootout wins is going to be massive, and I think that might play a bit of a big factor in what we go with on these games. I'm going to shy away from this one. I'm going to go last, I think, because
I'll go first. This is going to be a real tough one. Looking at Milton Keynes, at face value, they look fantastic, but then I'm going to also judge them on their performance against us at Hull. I think Peterborough take this one, though. I think they'll just edge it. I'm gonna say it's gonna be quite a high scoring game. I'll go 5-4 Peterborough.
Interesting.
Which way to go? I'm still torn on which way to go, really.
Yeah, it's an hard one to pick, this, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go in favour of MK. I think Tim Wallace will want. I think Tim will have been happy to get the 2 points against Hull. I don't think he'll have been happy that we kept them down to 2 goals. So I think he'll be expecting a big reaction this weekend. I think MK is a really hard place to go, arguably the hardest place in the league to go and get points, with all their crowd and stuff like that there. But I do think it'll be close, and I do think Peterborough have shown the worth already. So it is going to be a difficult one. I'm going to go 5-3 to MK.
Interesting.
Because, they've just shown. I think they've shown that they can claw games back. They can get points. So yeah, they are worth a few goals, I think, Peterborough.
I'm going to go a bit lower scoring. I'm going to go with MK 3-2. I just think MK, like you said there, Al, is one of the toughest places to go. And I just think both teams are going to be a bit holding off a little bit. I don't think it's going to go gung-ho, because I think if it goes like that, it's just going to be like a bit of a boxing fight with 2 heavyweights standing slugging each other. And I think it's going to be a bit lower score, but I just think MK at home taking it 3-2.
Yeah.
So the Sunday fixtures. First fixture is Leeds Knights hosting Romford Raiders. So this is again a double header for Leeds. So Leeds at home, different prospect. What's your opinions on this one?
You want me to go?
Go on. If you want to,
Yeah.
I'll go first, Brad. I feel like you keep chucking yours in first, don't you?
Go on then.
Unless you want to go first, I don't mind, obviously.
No, you go for it, mate.
For Leeds, I think this will be one-way traffic, to be honest, especially at the Castle. I don't mean any disrespect to Romford at all, but I do think that they're a different beast at home. I know that obviously they've had the troubles in the last couple of weeks or whatever, but last weekend was a massive weekend for them. I think it'll be 7-2 to Leeds. I think another big win is, inbound.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think this is going to be as interesting as maybe the Saturday fixture when Romford are at home. I think Leeds will get some goals here, but I'll go with a 5-1 win for Leeds.
I was going to go with that as well.
Yeah. Go with it, Az. Go with it.
I'm going to stick with it. 5-1 Leeds.
Nice. If you two get 3 points off that, I'll be fuming.
That's the only reason I'm not budging. I thought, shall I budge? And I thought, if he gets it right, he's right with my backside tonight. I'm just going to put the same as him every week now so I can try.
Yeah. Rossy doesn't know what he's on about. I'll just stick with Brad.
So the next fixture on this Sunday is Hull Seahawks hosting the Solway Sharks. We've obviously visited this one in pre-season. Things have changed, good and bad for both teams. Who wants to go first on this one?
You want to go first on this one, Az?
Yeah, I want to go for Seahawks 5-2. 5-2. I think we look good against MK. Again, we come up against a goalkeeper that was just keeping everything out. Jordan Marr has the potential to do that for Solway, but I just think in the end we will overpower them. I think that grit and fighting determination of Solway will get them a couple of goals, but I just think Emmy and the boys up there on that top line will be doing some absolute damage. So 5-2 Seahawks.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Solway have got a little bit about them, but when it comes to our first line, I think they're going to be hard to keep at bay for long periods of time, especially if there ends up being some power plays and stuff. A difficult one to score, but I'm going to go with a relatively convincing. I'll go 5-3 Hull Seahawks.
I initially thought, I think this is a big win for Seahawks. This. The more I think about it, the more I'm going to go for a Hull win. But I do think that, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it was in pre-season, personally. Now that the season started, I think it's serious. I think they're going to be after results. They'll probably look at our league positioning and think where we might be there for the taking. And they are increasing every game in terms of goals. Let's wipe MK away. But, they're starting to get these connections now. What we was talking about the last couple of weeks. So I do think it'll be a difficult one. Hopefully, we have another weekend like we did last weekend in terms of net minding. And Geordie or Dima, whoever's in the net, can help us through or is solid there. But I think this game's interesting because I don't think Solway are a team that you want to get real ratty and physical against, just because of the obvious threat that they've got in that respect. And I think actually last time we played them, Bob had a back injury, so he went up and fighting and stuff like that. But I don't want to be going up against their lads who want to fight because they've got some big lads. Arsenal is obviously one that can put the gloves up, and Jake Bolton speaks for himself as what he did over the weekend. So I think that this Seahawks team, you'll find, will just be a game focus, right? We're not getting into the nitty gritty. We're just going to play our game and let's beat them by playing hockey. So which might be an interesting one. So on the back of that, I'm going to go 4-2 to Seahawks. I don't think it's going to be as straightforward, but I think it'll be more, just like power play goals or, knitting it together kind of thing. Being interesting, watch this one.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So, next fixture. I'd said this team had already probably had the fixture of the weekend, but this is probably just as big, if not maybe bigger, depending where you're coming from. But Peterborough Phantoms hosting the Swindon Wildcats.
Yeah. This is going to be tough.
Well, I'll go first if you want.
Go on.
I think it's going to be 2-1 to Peterborough.
Ooh.
I think Swindon's 100% is going to go out the window. I mean, it will anyway, because once Seahawks get hold of them, give them.
I'll be laughing to the bank. We're now 1 point there, lads.
0 points for Swindon this weekend in my mind.
I'm really torn between this fixture, to be honest. I'm having a bit of difficulty with myself trying to figure it out, but I'm going to go with you, as I think Peterborough edged this one. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory for Peterborough because
it's literally that's mad.
And I can see it though, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring, and Peterborough are at home, so they're going to really want to protect that home ice. I tell you what, I'll go for a 3-2 Peterborough. Go a little bit more high scoring. At least we've got some points to win between us, haven't we?
Boys, I'm going for a Peterborough 0 point weekend.
Wow.
Against MK and Swindon, it's a tough all weekend, that. I think if Swindon can rock up at Sheffield and beat them 4-1 in their own gaff comfortably, I think they can do it to a lot of teams in this league. So I am going to go for not quite a repeat, but I'm going to go Swindon 4, Peterborough 2.
Ooh. Be an interesting one to keep an eye on, that one. Obviously, it faces off at the same time as Seahawks, so while we're at the rink, it'll be in between period breaks, keeping an eye on that. But I think it'll be a massive one to keep an eye on because it's a real up at the top of the table little clash, that one. I mean, Peterborough have had some past weekends, haven't they? Like you said, the two out wins this weekend just gone, and then you're having Milton Keynes and Swindon. That is an horrible start to the season.
Tough all do that, innit?
Yeah.
Thankfully, thankfully for them, they're in the position that they are. They're sitting quite pretty up at the top end of the table, aren't they?
It can only get easier from after this weekend, can't it, really? So
definitely.
We'll see. The final fixture, Telford Tigers hosting Bristol Pitbulls.
I'll go first on this one if you want, lads. I'm going to go for a relatively convincing win for Telford. I suspect we all will do. I'm going to go for 7-4.
Ooh.
That's
Was it?
Yeah.
7-4. Wow.
I was going to say 7-3.
7-3, nice.
Yeah.
I had the same thought in my head. I thought, should I go 7-4 or 7-3? I'm joking. I did think it'd be high scoring though, so it's a bit weird how we all have the same thought process, isn't it? I'll go 6-3 to Telford.
I just think with Thompson, the way he's putting points up,
yeah, daft.
Halen as well. It's no disrespect to Bristol, but I just think they'll be there for the taking. Leeds put 16 by them this past weekend, and I think Telford will give them a good harding as well.
Yeah, fair.
Well, that wraps it up then, fellas. So there's all the fixtures. Be interesting to come back again, see if I can get the treble on the old. But yeah, we'll wrap it up there, boys. Again, thanks for watching the episode as always. Please do like, subscribe, follow us. We're on Spotify as well if you didn't know. So give us a listen while you're on your journeys to and from work. It might make it a bit more enjoyable for you, especially if you're stuck in traffic. And enjoy your week. Anything you guys want to add?
I'll just reiterate what you said there, Al. We say this week in, week out, but what we do is a bit fun, so we appreciate the interaction we get from everybody, and we want more of it. So please do reach out. If you've got your own predictions on stuff like this, let us know what your thought process, or if we've caused offence to some of your teams, give us a shout, let us know, back you boys. So yeah, we're happy to hear it, we're happy to have the conversation, so reach out.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you both said there, I just think I wanted to pass on a massive thanks to everyone who tunes in every week to watch our stuff, listen to our stuff, interact with our social medias and stuff like that. So, just a massive thank you, really enjoy it, and we get a lot from it, especially interacting with you guys. So if you've got any ideas for us in terms of punishment for our league, or anything that you want to see on the podcast, any players you want to see on the podcast, coaches, or anything like that, then make sure you're dropping it in the comments, and make sure you're following us on all of our links, because we've got some exciting stuff coming.
Great stuff. See you boys on the weekend.
Catch you next week.
See ya.